Welcome to the Redemption Life Podcast, a resource from Redemption Church, Twin Cities. Through these conversations, we aim to explore what it looks like to live a redeemed life, rooted in the gospel, formed by Scripture, and shaped in community. You can find more information about our church at redemptiontc.com. But in the meantime, we hope that this resource encourages you and helps you to know and follow Jesus.
I am actually more comfortable up here than I expected. You and I are supposed to be back there, so
I know.
I kind of was wondering how this was going to go.
Oh, should we start then? Should
We
just
probably should start.
from that point there?
Sure. Why not?
Who wants to clap? That's a thing.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Goran. Wow, that is a technical director clap if I've ever heard one. That was really high
You
quality.
can tell by the
You
tone.
should-
Drew, take notes.
You
Drew,
should get the job
yes.
here. You would be a
Really?
great tech director.
Cool.
Honestly, you should pray about it.
That'd be an idea.
Okay. All right, we've clapped. We are rolling. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Redemption Life Podcast. We have different faces up here, new faces all across the board, actually. It's, as Corin was saying, if that beginning is in this podcast, two of us are usually on the other side of the camera, and we're not this time. We're gonna talk about what's going on here. Oh yeah, hand off the mic stand, Leo.
You're making noises.
For
I was
sure.
making-
Yeah, every little bump.
We haven't gotten to handling noise in the trainings yet.
Yes.
Sorry. We'll get there in a couple weeks.
In the residency training for
the
Leo.
residency training.
There we go.
Leo's
This
joining.
is left in the podcast.
Yes,
We're
we've already
already off
started.
the rails.
We can't go back now. There is
You
no
should've
going
seen
back.
this coming.
There's no going
We
back.
can't cut anything.
Anyway, we have been doing a series that we just started. There is probably one episode out by this point that you're listening to this podcast. Maybe two. I don't know. But we're doing a series called Meet the Staff. And today we have our worship arts staff. So a new face, an exciting new role this year. But we just want to get to know our worship arts staff here. Some of us are familiar to a lot of you, but some of you might not know any of us if you're new to our church, or know very little of us if you just don't cross paths with us. Excuse me. But what I want to do is I want to start our time just who are you? Like, what's your name? What's your role here? What ministry are you primarily involved with? And then how long have you been here? So let's start with Josiah, the newbie.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Josiah Clark. I've been at Redemption for just about 3 years now. I just graduated from the University of Minnesota and was involved with Salt Company. So that was kind of my introduction to Redemption Church. I've been doing worship for about as long as I can remember. My parents both helped lead worship at our church out in New York where I grew up, and so I was involved with them with that. And when we moved out to Minnesota, I kind of instantly started leading worship with my dad. So that was kind of where I got my start. Once I got affiliated with Salt Company during my freshman year, rather, I didn't take too long to realize that being on the worship team was something that I wanted to do. Music team now. Sincerest apologies. But yeah, once the merger happened, got to meet Leo and had a really fun last couple of years of worship, and just really felt the Lord move, and I figured it was at least worth giving ministry and specifically worship a shot for full time. So yeah.
So Josiah is our worship resident. We're first worship resident that we've had here
First one.
at Redemption. He's working primarily with Salt Company. That's where he'll lead most often, really working closely with Leo, and just excited to have him on our team coming into this year. For me, I guess we can get kind of into history as well. I'm Nate. I'm the worship pastor here, which is kind of weird to say that still. But Isaac ditched his post and went and did something else. Just kidding. He's our community pastor now, for those of you who don't get that that's a joke. But yeah, I'm worship arts pastor here as of, what's the date today? Like a couple weeks ago, basically. More time once you're listening to this. But I've been here at the church since 2019. My wife and I, Callie, we started coming when right after we got married. We came a few times before we got married, but then really committed to Redemption after we got married, and it was a couple years into being here, like a year and a half to 2 years into being at Redemption as our home church, that Drew just sent me an email. I was like, hey man, I want to get lunch with you. I'd love to talk with you about jumping on our Salt Company staff to lead worship. So that was kind of the impetus for how I got on to this staff team, and I've been here for 5.5 years now. Started with Salt Company Minneapolis as their worship leader, and was there for 4.5 years. And then when the merger happened, we kind of had a transitional semester where Leo and I kept leading together, and then I moved over to community side this last year, and then now with Isaac taking that community pastor role, have moved further on the community side as the worship pastor. How I got started with worship, I have always loved music, and I never thought I could sing or like actually do anything musical. I just loved listening to music. I remember like sitting in my room with a CD player with The Beautiful Letdown by Switchfoot. It was my first CD I ever owned for myself, and it's still one of my favorite albums of all time. But just I remember that kind of being like the spark of like, oh, I love music, and I just want to listen to music and play music all the time. I didn't play anything other than piano the 2 years of lessons that my mom and dad made me do, which I wish, like everyone who quits piano lessons, I wish I would have kept going with. But it was my sophomore year. Like I started teaching myself guitar when I was a freshman in high school, and they needed somebody at my youth group to lead worship. And the guy that had been leading was older, and he was moving, getting married, and then was going to be moving, so he couldn't lead anymore. He was like, hey, I need someone to kind of take this over for me. And he kept like giving me opportunities that I was not ready for. And he's like, hey man, like I hear you play guitar. Come play with me on a Wednesday night. And I was like, well, I'm not good, and you don't want to hear that. He's like, oh, I won't turn it on. And then eventually he turned it on, and I don't know why I didn't believe that, but kind of same thing vocally then too. He's like, man, I hear you singing behind me. Like you have a decent voice. Like, you want to sing with me? And I was like, no, absolutely not. I don't have a good voice. He's like, oh, I won't turn the mic on. And then eventually, of course, he turns the mic on. And then I just developed this love for worship. Like, I feel like the way that I spent time with Jesus and communed with him was through singing worship songs or even writing music, which is exciting because we have the RTC worship stuff here now. I get to do that as a job, which is amazing. And then that kind of led into college. I was a Vespers leader, so United Worship Ministry at Bethel University. Led worship there. And then as I was a junior and senior in college, I was part-time at Wooddale Church as a worship leader for their senior high and youth, and then did some interim roles there. But then I was a biokinetics major and was going to be a PA, and that's when I was working in the medical field, and that's kind of when Redemption came into the picture, is that I graduated, was working, and we started coming to Redemption, and then a couple of years later got the email from Drew. So that's kind of my story of how I got to this point, how I started leading worship, and just excited for the years ahead that and how that will look. So
Cool. Guess I'm up next. I'm Corin. I am the production manager here at Redemption Church, which means I'm in charge of all things audio, video, lighting for our services and managing those volunteer teams. So I've been here actually since the beginning of Redemption Salt City Church at the time in 2017. I was at Iowa State for 2 years prior to that, moved up here with the church plant before going to Hennepin Tech for audio production, but just got involved right away, helping out as much as I could, hanging out with Isaac a lot in those early days, troubleshooting, figuring out why things were broken in our mobile systems, and then throughout. And then in 2020, January, Isaac asked me to come on as a part-time staff member, which was very convenient timing to bring on a production person, because in March that job exploded as we went to all live stream services, which was a lot of fun. Hanging out with Isaac at his house and live streaming from there for the first few weeks before building out the office, which was a blast. But I was on part-time staff from 2020 until summer of 2024 when I came on full-time after we moved in the building. And as Isaac said, we needed an astronaut to fly the rocket ship that we had built. And so,
that's
yeah.
the truest analogy that I've ever heard. It's crazy. Seriously, the things that Corin knows, like if you could be, we do these things called troubleshooting shootouts, where Corin purposely breaks things in our system and says, "You have 10 minutes to try to fix this." And it's just funny because he watches us squirm because
Oh, yeah.
we have like a 20% success rate, maybe.
So the best is when they claim that they have like a 99% success
Okay.
rate, and then the next time they get absolutely destroyed.
My favorite shootout, which made me feel like the biggest idiot, was, man, nothing's coming through the PA. And then once the timer ended, he said, "Leo, the mute button." And I was like, are you kidding me?
But yeah, so came on full time. Like I said, 2024 summer, managing production and actually facilities at the time, and then just went full production last fall. So that was a blast. Loved the job. Got involved growing up. My dad did sound at church, probably from the time I was 7 or 8 and on, and just stood behind him a lot. Watching him work, learning from him. When I got to middle school, he started teaching me a little bit more, and I started helping out during middle school and high school ministry stuff, and eventually running sound for church. Because of that, realized that I kind of had a bit of a passion for it. Was helping out at the church camp that I was working at in the summers, and then when I went to Iowa State, got plugged in at Cornerstone down there, and learned so much more, and primarily plugged in as a lighting guy. And realized eventually that I really love this doing production for worship thing. Let's just kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I think
That's cool. I'm Leo. I've been on staff with Redemption now. I'm coming on 5 years. Actually, next month. I came on August 2021, like super part-time. But I've been attending Redemption for 6 years, and kind of how I ended up here was my wife and I, Ann and I, lived in Ames for a season. We were really loving our time at Cornerstone Church of Ames, and we were hoping there to just like be a future, but then COVID hit. And one day we just looked at each other and we're like, what are we doing in Ames? Like, why are we still here? There's a literal Salt Network church in the Twin Cities where you're from. And we just took a step of faith. It was like the most chaotic, most disorganized way of like leaving a town. But we're like, let's just move next month. And so we literally did that, moved to the Twin Cities, at the time, Salt City Church. We checked it out and we were like, this is it. This is home for us. And yeah, I started serving at the church 3 weeks after attending. I didn't even audition. Like, I literally just played acoustic in front of Isaac, and then the next day he texted me. He said, "Hey, my electric guitarist backed out. Can you play this Sunday?" And I'm like, sure, And so we gave it a try, and then I just got thrown in the rotation right then and there. 10 months in, got offered, I think 9-10 months in, got offered a super part-time job from former staff member Colin Provart to be the worship leader for Salt Company St. Paul. Accepted the job a week later, and then 3 weeks later, I got sat down by our former Salt director, Tony Lee, and said, "Hey, I'm actually going to be leading Salt St. Paul." So I got to do ministry alongside him for 3.5 years, and yeah, it was just some of the best 3.5 years of doing worship ministry and college ministry. And I've just over time have gained a passion for doing college ministry and reaching the next generation. How I ended up doing worship, is that one of the questions? How I ended up?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You have a. Oh, sorry if I came through, bumped the stand. You have a kind of a more unique story. Like, a lot of us are just like, we're exposed to
Yeah.
worship ministry, and it just like one thing led to another. But you went to worship school.
Yeah.
Which I would love to hear you talk
Yeah.
about how that kind of shaped worship leading for you and got you excited about it.
Yeah, so I didn't grow up in the Twin Cities. Fun fact, I wasn't even born in America. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela. Hear the accent? But Jennifer is just shaking her head back there like, I can't believe you said that. Edit that out. But grew up actually in South Florida, so Fort Lauderdale, Pompano Beach, Miami. That was like my scene. But I went to this really big mega church. It was called Calvary Chapel, Fort Lauderdale. That's actually where I went to the high school there, and they also had a worship school. So there was a ministry program called Ocean's Edge School of Worship designed to develop and help like grow worship leaders. And I was just like, I was serving on the youth worship team at Calvary, and I was like, I don't know if I want to go to like an actual college like my family did. I think I want to do worship school, which was like a silly idea for everybody in my family, but I was like, I want to give this a try. And so I did that for 2 years and really, really just shaped my love for music more and worship and leadership. Because like going into worship school, I didn't know if this was something I wanted to do. I was like, I want to give this a try and see what happens. And literally 2 months after going to the school, I was like, yeah, this is it. And so went to worship school for 2 years, grew more as a disciple, grew more in my faith. That's where I feel like even too, just learned just where my identity is found, not in my skill, but in the Father. And so, yeah, that's kind of the shortened story of how I ended up there. But
That's awesome. Yeah, that's sweet. Like it's all of us have different backgrounds that got us here, which it's fun to hear the little bits of those stories. I'm sure we could spend a lot more time on those things. Another thing that I think we could spend a lot of time on, maybe a whole episode if there's interest for it. We have this idea of like philosophy of worship or philosophy of production, which one of my favorite books that I've read on worship ministry is called The Worship Pastor by Zach Hicks. And it talks about like developing a philosophy of worship, and he uses this idea of climbing up and down the abstraction ladder, which is like this philosophy of worship. Like when someone asks you a question, like why is your music as loud as it is, or like why do we sing this specific song? It's like taking time to climb up the ladder, grab the. I get this picture of like an old school library with like the wheeled ladders that go around the room. And it's like climbing up the abstraction ladder is taking the time to climb up to the shelf that you keep your philosophy on, taking it down, looking at it and answering that question and thinking deeply about those things. And I just want to take a minute or a few minutes, since we have some time, to talk about like high level overview of like how do we view philosophy of worship or philosophy of production for our ministries? Like how do those things differ and how are they united? I can start like with, I think how they're united. And I think this is true for Salt Company, for Sunday Morning, and the production side of both of those things, is that we hold our philosophy loosely, but with conviction. Yep. It's that we want to serve our church and the needs of our church, or the needs of Salt Company with who is in our ministry. We want to hold these things loosely, so as our ministries change, we're best serving our ministry, but we hold those things with conviction. So when people ask us, like, why do we sing this song? We have an answer for that. We've thought through those things. So if it's helpful, I can go first in kind of laying out kind of broad overview of philosophy of worship for Redemption Church. And I have to shout out Dalton Schaefer from Candeo Church. He's like helped me shape this a lot. And he talks about this through 3 paradigms. And that's kind of what I've adopted as overview, like large scale overview of philosophy of worship with Redemption Church, specifically for Sunday mornings. But he talks about this thing, and now we implement having a healthy balance of formation, mission, and encounter is how I think about our philosophy of worship. So what that means is we want to be singing songs. We want to do and structure our services in ways that there are healthy amounts of all 3 of those things. So there's healthy amounts of mission. What does that mean? That our services are really accessible for someone who's new, someone who doesn't know Jesus or is really new to church. Some of that has to do with the way that we structure our services, that we're not using too much insider language, that we're not doing the rhythms in our services, in the liturgy of our services that seem inaccessible to someone who's new, but also the songs that we sing. I think of a great example of this. It's not one that we've done on Sunday mornings, but we did this at Salt Company for the last couple of years, and that's the song called Call on the Name. A song like that, super missional. Like, I call on the name of Jesus. I want to be saved. I never want to be the same. It's like this really low bar of like someone who is just beginning a walk with Jesus can sing those things with conviction. And that seems really missional. It's really accessible for people, regardless of how long they've been walking with Jesus, what their church background is. So that's the idea of mission. Formation, which I think our church is really solid in, is like, how are these songs, like, in the depth of the things that we're singing and talking about, and the rhythms of whether it's taking communion or more church rhythms, like large-scale church rhythms like that. how are those things forming us to be better followers of Jesus? I mean, a lot of times it's the songs like, I mean, there's like Throne Room Song has a ton of theology in it. And it's kind of those old school hymns are really formative because they've been sung for generations and generations, and their lyrics are super rich, and they're forming us. It's like spiritual formation happening as we sing. And then Encounter is like that goes really hand in hand with the production side, which I'm excited to hear you talk about that, Corin. But Encounter is like, what is the experience? Like, there is an emotional element to worship, and that's not manipulative that we lean into that, but it's the way that God designed it. And so when we're thinking about Encounter, we're thinking about how can we create an experience in an environment in worship that we can experience and feel Jesus in a really sweet way. And there's a sweet part, like I'm a science guy. I'm a biokinetics major, and so I did this presentation one time with our Salt Company leaders about like what your brain does when you're listening to music, and it's like the anatomy of singing, basically. And there's a handful, like there's two main areas that, like, if you were to put a scan on your brain, like a live scan, as you're talking, those areas will light up. It's like your speech and processing information centers. So a lot of your brain, but in comparison to music, when you're listening to music and when you're singing, the amount of your brain that is engaged is far greater. It's like most of the areas of your brain will light up when music is playing and when you're singing. So that's God's good design, right? Like that's God's good design, that he would say, all right, music can be used for more of my being to glorify God. And that's a gift. That's really sweet. So when we're thinking about Encounter, we want to create environments where people can experience God and like the emotions of that. Though you can manipulate that, we're just like leaning into what God has designed. And there's a reason why people leave humming the songs that we sing. Not saying they don't remember the sermons. I think that our church does, and I hope so. But there's something sticky about music, and that's why we lean into Encounter. So those three: mission, formation, and Encounter, those three paradigms of worship, I think when we have a healthy balance of those, we have a healthy worship culture. So that's how I think about our Sunday morning stuff. But I think because the Encounter is related, I'm curious to see if you just want to jump in off of that, Corin, to talk about philosophy of production.
Yeah, for sure. It's actually fun. So with Josiah on our residency, now I'm starting to do a training with these guys, and actually this morning we were just talking about philosophy of production. So fresh in the brain. So we'll see if these guys remembered it. But I think effectively it boils down to kind of like 3 key points that I kind of like aim for. The first is that we're just here to create an environment where people can encounter God. There's a practical element of that. So you look at our room, we have 600 people in there on a Sunday, and it's a big black box. So we have we need lighting because otherwise you're not going to see anything. And we need audio because otherwise you're not going to hear what's being said or being sung because it's a large room. So there's some practical elements of that, but there's also just that, more artistic element where we're creating that environment where it feels cohesive, where what's happening with the music is very natural, where, we're using some of those elements of like, you've probably never noticed it consciously, but hopefully unconsciously you've noticed it. Like during meet and greet, we'll turn down the stage lights because we want you guys focused on the people around you. Like we're aiming for that idea of like this community. But then when it's okay, the attention should be back up to the stage because we're going into announcements or something like that, we're going to turn up those lights much brighter so that your attention is just naturally drawn that way, right? So we're using some of those elements that way. But then also there's the reality of enhance, don't distract. That's kind of, especially with my lighting people, that's the idea that I try to lean into hard. Is we always want to make sure that what we're doing is enhancing the moment, but we're never going to be the focus. I don't want somebody ever walking out of the room going, wow, that lighting was really cool, or distracting, or dude, that mix was perfect, it sounded so good. We want people walking out of the room going, no, this is a really great encounter that I had with God, like you were saying. And then just another element that I lean into with my team all the time is the idea of worship first, capture second, or whatever your role is. a former church production guy that I've followed, he kind of leaned into that really heavily with his team. And I love that idea of the first thing that our team should be doing is worshiping, whether it's the music team up on stage or it's the production team back in the booth. I've seen the evidence of the best results, our team being able to put out the least distraction free or least distracting service, where it's just being led really well, comes from when the teams are just genuinely worshiping in that moment first. And so kind of those are the three things that we kind of focus around. And yeah, we utilize the different elements. I'm a lighting guy first and foremost. That's what I spent a lot of my pre-full-time career doing. And so I love it. But it's a lot of the like, what's the band doing? And then trying to take that acoustical and make it a visual experience as well. So it just all feels very cohesive.
Yeah. Yeah. I think to your point of worship first, capture second, I think what's true, I think we'd all agree that worship leading and production leading as invitation is kind of the lens that we want to see our services through. Like we want it. I always give this example when I'm talking to our team. It's like when we're leading, especially like our vocalists who have more ability to move and express like physically, it becomes a really easy thing to follow when we've gone somewhere with the songs that we're leading and we've had a personal experience in worship to Jesus during the week as we're prepping. It's like the same way if someone's like, hey, come see this thing with me. This is really fun and really cool. I'm going to be much more apt to say yes. Like I'll come see that with you than if they were like, okay, there's something over there. You should go look at it. It's like, well, why? Like, but if someone's excited about what is happening in their own lives and they invite me to go with them, I'm gonna be there.
Absolutely.
And I think that's true of how we see production and worship at our church. Is we want our teams to have spent time with the lyrics that we're singing, the songs that we're going to be leading any given week, so that our heart's posture as we're leading is not like okay, this song is cool, go check it out. It's like, hey, the truth in this song is really sweet and it's impacted me. Come with me and experience that together as a church. And I think that's really compelling to be led that way. And I think people notice a difference when it's invitational.
Right.
So I think that's true of all of us. But yeah, Josiah, Leo, what would you add or change about Salt Company?
What would I change about Salt Company? No,
not on the whole. Not on the whole. You need Austin's permission for
Austin, I
that.
hope you're listening, man. Buckle up. No, I'm even thinking about just like my upcoming team night. I'm just gonna pull up this verse that during my staycation a few weeks ago. I think just really, I don't know if wrecked is the right word, but I was like, I want this to shape our worship culture here at Salt Company. So let me pull it up. Yeah, right here. So Psalm 147, verse 10, it says, he is not impressed by the strength of a horse. He does not value the power of a warrior. The Lord values those who fear him, those who put their hope in his faithful love. I want the worship culture at Salt Company, and this is something that I'm making it my aim. I've told our students and our team this, but like, love Jesus more than the platform.
Yeah.
We're not trying to be the most impressive people in the room. Jesus is the most impressive person in the room.
That's good.
Just be faithful. And I mean, like I love what you just said. Like, we want them to be worshiping to the lyrics that they're singing. That's something that I've been trying to make a goal for myself. And it hasn't been perfect, but like before hitting the stage, before hitting rehearsal, spending time with Jesus.
Yeah.
I like heard it from, I think, Generations Church out in Oregon, that Saul Rexius, before he preaches a sermon, he literally just goes in the closet and just spends time with Jesus, like just in a separate room. So he's like, I want to be with Jesus before I lead people to Jesus. And that's the culture I want set for our ministry at Salt Company, and even for Sunday morning. It's like, let's make Jesus the number one priority, not our performance, not the platform, Jesus and him alone.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And Josiah, you've been a part of Salt Company for a number of years now and have been a part of music team. Maybe the question for you is a little bit different, but like, what are you excited about continuing to be a part of with having more of a leadership role in the culture of worship at Salt Company? What are you excited about? Salt Company worship looking like this year or years to come as you're here?
For sure. I mean, one of the most like early visceral memories that I have once I started going to Salt Company was just like standing in the row of seats surrounded by people that just had their hands up and were worshiping. Like the church that I grew up at out in New York was more of that way, but for the last, or I shouldn't say the last, for the probably 5 years prior to me starting to go to Salt Company, I was at a church where it was just hymns on the weekend and a lot of organ or just piano and whatnot. And there's certainly a place for that, and a lot of people are really moved by that. But just to see people with their hands up, just kind of really letting themselves take in the awe and wonder that is just the natural response when you are confronted with the amazing thing that Jesus has done in all of our for all of our lives. It was just kind of, I don't know, it kind of woke me up a little bit. I like to think of myself as a thinker over a feeler. My family's really into the Myers-Briggs, so we classify things that way. But I feel like there aren't that many things in my life that really like make me emotional, and that was just immediately something that I was struck with, was just this like overwhelming emotion, where I was just like broken down to tears just in worship, and part of that is the experience. Part of that is also the formation. My dad's a pastor, so I've always felt, I don't know, there are some songs that are simpler and some songs that go theologically deeper, and I'm really spiritually and emotionally moved by theologically deep songs that really like challenge my mind and challenge the way that I see God. And so I'm just really excited to kind of see the freshman me from a couple years back in people that I'm ministering to out at Salt Company, kind of see the response that people have when they're confronted with the goodness of our God, and how that shapes them and changes them as it has me the last couple of years. So yeah,
that's awesome. Love it. That's super sweet. And I think to put a bow on this part of the conversation, what I hope that you all hearing the philosophy of worship in production, what I hope it creates is a freedom in you guys to have conversation with us about it. We talked about at the very beginning, we want to hold it loosely, but with conviction. And what I think would be a miss of us sharing this stuff would be if everyone just made an assumption that, oh, they have it figured out, so I can't ask any questions, you know?
Please ask questions.
Please ask questions.
We love to talk about this
like,
stuff.
I mean, even for example, we've like changed our audio volume standard this year. Like,
in the last 6 months.
Because we were too loud.
Yep.
And like, we have a lot of babies in our church, and the more babies that come, the more that we need to assess those things. And if it wasn't for people being like, hey, it's kind of loud, we probably would have just kept rolling with it. And because when you're on stage or in the very back of the room, it's a very different experience than when you're right behind a PA. So what I hope is true of this conversation is that it actually leads you guys to feel like there is more freedom to share and voice concerns, because we want to take the time to go up and down that abstraction ladder and answer the questions. And there might be very specific reasons that we've thought through of why we make the decisions that we've made that maybe you want to know more about or have questions about, but we definitely don't want to close the door on what people are feeling and experiencing. So if you have things, talk to us about it. We'd love to process those things with you and be there for that. So I want to move to kind of a fun thing.
So we got serious for a while.
We got
gotta
super
be a little
serious
lighthearted here at the end, right?
And we got to transition. We can't be too serious. We don't take ourselves too seriously.
Exactly.
There is a very popular social media page called Worship Fails. And every worship leader that has been doing it for any amount of time has some great fails.
Have any of you made it on the page yet?
no,
Thank
goodness.
the Lord, no.
One of my groomsmen made it on the page. I
No
was-
way.
Yeah, like I literally was watching. Was like, Kyle, what? You know?
So I have one friend that's made it on
Yeah.
there, but yeah.
Yeah, no. I hope I don't ever.
I'll start submitting things. I've got all the files.
Oh, no. Yeah, Corin's got an extensive
don't.
archive. So
Warren has a separate document or on the Google Drive of all of the things we've messed up in the ministry, and he will pull it up.
Sunday mornings or Salt Companies.
Yeah.
If there was something funny said, something messed up,
We
It's
were
probably been clipped out.
we were in a meeting just was that yesterday
It's like 2 days ago. Yeah.
or 2 days
on
ago
Monday.
talking about a lighting fiasco, if you will, and not 10 seconds after we started talking about it, Corin turns around his laptop and has it pulled up. He's quick with that.
Yeah. Well, I want to share just like what are some of our best or worst, however you want to think about it, worship fails. And I want Leo to start.
No.
Come on, Leo.
I just. You want me to share the one from this last week?
Hey, I mean,
I
you,
think we-
you
yeah.
can share whatever you
No.
want.
Dealer's
sure.
choice.
I was like between that and the almost heretical thing I said on stage one time.
Almost?
No.
Well, you've mentioned it, so you have to.
Almost.
Maybe you have to do both because you've
Yeah,
mentioned
yeah.
you
Oh, yeah,
alluded to
come on.
both now, so
Well,
we need to hear.
The one that I shared with these guys, you guys were in the room. Actually, all of you were in the room for this, but it was one saw company. We were doing Goodbye Yesterday. Ever hear of it? And it's it's going to be out of the pool soon. But anyways, we're doing Goodbye Yesterday, and it's the refrain or whatever in the end. Where it's like dancing on the grave, and I'm doing this like really intense shepherding moment, right? Of 2 Corinthians 5:17. If anyone's in Christ, he's a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come, right? And I'm literally, as I am saying it, I'm yelling it, and my voice just starts to crack. And here's the thing. It cracked once, and I was like, whatever, move past. But the more I kept talking, it just kept cracking. And guys, therefore, if anyone's in Christ, he's a new creation, And everybody, you could just see everybody's face like, is this guy okay right now?
We have the clip. We could.
Yeah,
I was saying, we have the
we
clip.
could just overlay.
I was back at the booth just on the floor laughing at this moment.
Yeah,
So
Drew had preached that night. He had guest preached, and apparently he told Corin, I think Leo's going through puberty again right now. That was not my favorite moment. The other one here, I have to pull up the verse because I don't want to misquote it. Otherwise, heresy, right?
I was going to
Yeah.
say, that's what got us in trouble the
Story
first
about
time, right?
heresy. You got to make sure.
I'm gonna
you
see if
follow.
I can remember the exact. I stopped myself, and at the time I think Kennedy Rubin she led with us, but she was like, "Dude, you were teetering off pretty bad." But it's Hebrews 4. This was right before Son of Suffering, and I quote Hebrews 4:14-16. Since then, we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God. Let us hold fast our confession, for we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who in every respect has been tempted as we are, yet without sin. Let us then with confidence draw near to the throne of grace. Like all of that. And I'm like, guys, like Jesus himself was tempted. And I just paused because I was getting ready to say like something heretical that he was also just like us. And I'm like, wait, am I about to say something really bad? And I've literally, I'm not kidding, paused for full 10 seconds, and people are just looking at me like, what's he about to say?
Because never mind.
And then we just started the song. Oh, the perfect. So yeah, that's a lesson for all worship leaders. Don't wing your shepherding. Don't do that. Literally rehearse your shepherding
Yes.
and try not to say anything heretical. Okay.
Try. That or it'll be a funny clip at some point. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it might end up on the page.
No, it was not vertical, so we didn't record it.
it's probably recorded somewhere.
Lucky you.
I'd have to go look
You
for
reach
that
out to
one.
the pastor or production
No,
director.
I got the files from there. I guess am I up next?
Yeah.
you can go for
Okay.
it.
Well, I guess Leo started this, so I've got a couple. There's the one that Josiah referenced. So this is back in our graduate days. I just found the clip again the other day. Sunday morning, late on in our graduate days, and we had 2 lighting trees for our front light out in the broom, and it's announcements, and there's people coming in. The lights are low in the room, and there's a cable hanging, and this gal trips on the cable accidentally, but one of our people hadn't fully tightened down the lighting clamp on the fixture, and it was kind of like top hung off of a lighting tree. And so this fixture swings around. It perfectly fine, still attached, didn't hurt anybody. We're good. But you're literally on the video, you watch Drew standing on stage, and he's talking, and suddenly just like the light disappears from one side of his face as it swings around. And then we get through announcements. Drew just kept going. Props to him on just not even acknowledging it. Just kept plowing through. I quick run over there, crank it down. We fix it, crank it back up, and then it fell down again at some point. Isaac references that apparently we just thought it wasn't dramatic enough, so we needed a nice dramatic lighting shift.
Yep.
And even better, that was Colin Provart's first Sunday ever preaching. So Colin Provart comes up on stage, and Drew had to go up with him. I had asked him, hey, please stand over on this half of the stage because that's the only half of the stage that's lit. And so Drew has to reference that Colin actually knows what he's supposed to be doing. All because, oops, I didn't get a lighting fixture clamped down all the way. The other one was actually like, this is kind of a fun moment that actually like turned out to be sweet, but in the moment, just absolute panic, absolute stress. Gosh. Nate and I are at this point doing Salt Company Minneapolis. We had Salt Company conference the week before, so massive production, huge energy, going wild. And we come back. I was supposed to have the Thursday off. Nate's down there. We were set up at Graduate. Nate walks in, and I get a call because the audio console just will not boot up. Not working.
It was wild.
It like starts to boot up, and then it just freezes. And whatever channels had been up previously, we're still passing audio. So like we had like 4 channels somehow, including a vocal mic. Or 2 vocal mics.
It was like an announcements mic that we converted to be a vocal mic, and we had a full team ready
so we're
for
supposed to have a full
rehearsal.
band. And we turn out, I'm come rushing down. We can't figure it out. We've tried restarting it multiple times, all these things. And finally, we're just going to have to run with it, make it happen. And so we ended up with an acoustic guitar, a vocal, and I think keys.
With no control over
volume or anything. It's just like whatever's there is what's there. The pastor is just using a vocal mic. Call it a day. We're good to go. Made the service happen. Right at the end, somebody tripped over the power cable, which pulled it out of the wall, which killed the console again.
Yeah, it was like
and
icing
so then,
on top.
Like, it's just icing on the cake for the night. It was a really sweet moment. Nate and I were, as we reflected on it afterwards, of we had gone from this really high production value at Salt Company Conference to Nate and me incredibly stressed out, frustrated that we can't get this to work. But it was a really sweet moment of just like, okay, strip it all back, keep it simple. And still was an awesome evening of worship, a fantastic message preached. It was an amazing service. The frustrating part was the next day when I had taken the console with me to work on it and try to figure it out, and I found out a fun little trick that apparently on that console, if you have the firmware on the flash drive, it tries to update itself, and all you had to do was pull out the flash drive, and then the console was perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's like one corrupt file ruined the whole night. But to your point, that's like one of my favorite nights of worship looking back. But this was, I think maybe it was my first.
This would have been 22.
This would have been, so it was my second year on staff, but I came on in February. So I missed conference the first year. So this is like after my first conference. And I'm like, this is epic. I'm so excited to go back and the lights are going to be awesome. Like we're going to crush worship. It's going to be awesome. And then I feel like it was God just being like, no, that's not what it's about. Pump the brakes here. So let me corrupt this firmware file on a USB drive for you.
Yes, God corrupted the firmware file. That's what we're saying.
God is sovereign over all. So in a way, anyway.
Good word.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny how sometimes those fails are the little things that go wrong. Ends up sweet, and maybe it's just a good reminder of man, the point is actually that we worship Jesus. So whether we have audio, 4 channels of audio, a full system, or nothing, worship can happen, and it can be really sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of the most stressful nights. I was going to maybe share that one, but I'll share another one. I can't clip this one, so maybe we'll overlay the clips of the ones that they've shared. But this is when I was at Bethel doing Vespers, and we had finished the night, and I'm benedicting the service, and at the end, I just wrap it up. I'm like, thanks, guys, for coming. Thanks for worshiping us. And then I just was going to stop, and then I realized what I said 4 seconds later, and I run back up to the mic. I'm like, don't worship us. We're not God. Worship God. Have a good night. But I was that was, definite heresy. Thanks for worshiping us. I hope they're not. But that was one of those moments where I'm like, man, I put my foot in my mouth pretty bad. And I was thinking about that one for a while. But
Rehearse your benediction.
rehearse your benediction. Well, I kind of did, but I just left out a word.
One missing word
One
is all
missing
it
word can
takes.
change the meaning of a lot of things.
That's right. I feel like I have a different answer for this question every time somebody asks it. I was telling these guys on Monday kind of about a time that I played the hymns at my dad's church when I was in middle school through high school, and he would usually preach for 20, 25 minutes or something like that. And I'm a diabetic, and my blood sugar went low at the end of the last song. So I finished the song and went downstairs to go grab a snack. And I'm like keeping an eye on the timer. I'm like, oh, I got some time. And then I'm just listening, and I hear this like faint sound of like piano going on. I'm like, oh, what is this? There shouldn't be any music going on. I'm the one that makes the music. So I'm hustling down the hall and up the stairs, and clear enough, the whole congregation is singing a hymn, and there's piano behind, and I come to realize that our associate pastor, not my dad, had gotten through his sermon a whole lot quicker than he usually would have, maybe missed a point or something, and was just looking around once he closed out and was like, well, I guess I'll play the last song. And so he hopped on the piano and just played our last song without me. I was mortified. I was just sitting downstairs, and to hear the sound that was supposed to be coming from me. I've also been told that we're playing a song and have come prepared with another song of the same name without having clarified or checking. I've come in on the wrong key. There have been plenty of fails in my short worship career, but I'm sure more to come.
Can I ask any Salt Company worship fails, like any recent that you can think of, or even when you were with Nate before the merge?
He's asking you this because he remembers one and wants to know if you remember it.
Yeah.
Well, I think I might have to let him share because nothing's standing out to me.
No,
He was
I
a
was being
perfect angel.
sarcastic.
Okay.
Sorry, dry
That is
sarcasm
why
here.
you're on staff.
I have a persistent fail that I've been working on recently, but I've been told that I look like kind of a grump when I'm up on keys, just because I'm so focused. I'm like locked in, especially when I'm
Me and you,
MDing.
RBFs forever.
That's right.
Ask
But,
your mom about that.
Best moves.
Yeah, resting
right.
best friends.
That's right. Resting grump face.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't think of really any particular moments where something has been totally off. Maybe in rehearsal, but probably not during a live setting since Salt Company, but only by the grace of God.
Leo, do you have one?
No, I was just.
Oh,
you were,
man. I was waiting
just
for
the
that.
complete package. Man,
I wouldn't say that.
Honestly,
Yeah.
this guy. Okay,
We like him.
yeah, he's great.
Let's
We
all
hired him
just
for a
speak
reason,
highly
I
about
guess. But he's like, it's like an onion. You peel back the layers, and there's just more there.
Yeah,
Like last year, he's just like, "Hey, can I audition
Yes.
on vocals?" And then he comes in and he starts singing. I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah, me
you
and
should have been doing
Nate
this from the
whispered
very
each other.
beginning."
Yeah, we're like, this guy's like pretty good.
What is up with this dude? He's so good at everything.
Also, Josiah is leading tonight for the first time by
That's right.
himself
That's
at
right.
Salt
Oh.
Company.
Let's
He's
go.
with the team,
Exciting.
He's playing the set
And why is he leading?
because I am preaching at Salt Company tonight.
That's right.
Yes, heresy. Now, but the sermon is on the Colossian heresy, so very interesting
That's right.
sermon for me to preach. Yeah,
Could be ironic, hopefully not.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Leo gave me the wheel. I'm going to try and keep the car on the road.
There you
But
go.
exciting
That's
stuff tonight. That's right.
Motorcycle. Vroom, vroom, you know?
That'll be awesome. Well, okay, we're like a minute and a half over what we shoot for, but I do want to just before we wrap up. I think it'd be sweet to share some of the things that we're asking for this year. Like just what are you praying that God's going to do in ministry, in your area of ministry this year? What are the things you're asking Him to provide for you? I can go first since I've thought about this question. This year, we've had a lot of transition on our team, and especially when we think about going back to 3 services and all that, like the load on our volunteers is a lot. And we've had a number of musicians, whether because of Salt Company, like kind of moving on, or like they have moved to a different place in graduation, or like Austin, for example, is one of our, if not our best drummer, and he's teaching a lot more. So like I'm thinking and asking God that He would provide for us this year more, competent, like high competency people that can help us lead our church in worship, but also like people that are really of high character that will contribute to the worship culture of Redemption in a really sweet way. So that's just a simple thing that I'm asking, but man, God's got to do some work in, not that He needs to work in people. Hopefully they're good already so they can come, but like asking that He would do that work in our church and bring those people into our congregation.
Yeah, I can go next. Yeah, my biggest prayer right now is, kind of along those same lines. I'm just looking for, competent but high character people especially with Salt Company, that just there would be an excitement to serve, and a passion for what we get to do. We're pretty thin on volunteers for Salt Company right now, and so there have been some really sweet times where we've seen a lot of students involved and that love getting to do it. And so just that, some students would catch that bug and want to be a part of it and want to serve. And see how fun the team can be. We might seem a little grouchy at times, but I promise it's a lot of fun.
All three of you have something in common. No.
Not Leo, though. No.
I know. I'm the happiest guy in the world. Sorry. Anyways, no, I think it kind of in a similar vein to you guys is like, more volunteers. So when I officially took on the role of Salt Twin Cities, I felt like I was set up very well for success by Nate because at Salt St. Paul, before the ministries merged, there was Salt Minneapolis, Salt St. Paul. At Salt St. Paul, we had some student volunteers, but a majority of them were community members that were just like excited, really wanting to be part.
Absolute rock stars.
Very, very passionate. And I'll just shout them out. Grizz, Kurt, Anna, if you're watching this, thank you so much for your years of service to Salt Company. But once this past semester ended, literally I had a ton of senior volunteers that are now done. And I'm kind of like, I have one bass player, 2 drummers that aren't students, but they're college age, but they have like commitments elsewhere. So it's like, something I'm just praying for is, just faithful student volunteers. Like, guys, something that I thought about the other day, I was sharing this with the Salt staff, was in my 3rd year on staff, I had specifically prayed for electric guitarists, drummers, bass players, like just whatever instrument need I needed, right? Or wanted. And God provided that. Like I met Josh Priggy, if you guys know who he is. He's one of our electric guitarists here on Sundays. God provided Michael Miller, one of our old drummers from Salt Company. He was my Salt Company drummer for 3 years straight. And I'm like, I need to be praying for these specific requests. Like I need to actually be active and praying for this. And so that's something that even if you're watching this podcast right now, if you could pray for that too, it's like this is a dire need in our church. Because right now or in our ministry, because right now I technically just have one keys player, not counting you, maybe 2, and so it's just a big need right now.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking we in our Salt staff meetings that we've been having recently, Austin's kind of repeated this thing that has kind of stuck with me. But he said we pray for rain and then prepare for mud. So we're praying that God would bring rain of His grace, and know that if that happens, that things are going to get messy, and that it's not going to be so easy to deal with. And if we get a bunch of new volunteers, there's a bunch more discipleship that needs to happen. There's a bunch more musical enrichment that's going to have to happen. You're going to have to kind of guide people through that and help that, and it's just going to make the job a little more overwhelming. And in a strange way, that's what I'm praying for, is that God would bring the rain, that there would be a whole lot of mud, that we'd be getting dirty, but that through that He would work in people, that He would bring people closer to Him, and that this music ministry would be impactful.
Yeah, that's so good.
So
And
wise.
overall, with all of that, I don't bring up this question as a ploy to guilt people into serving.
That's what this entire episode is about, right?
Yeah. You listen to this point. If you have to. It's by law, you have to audition. No, but I think what is true of all of our ministries, like the song "All Glory Be to Christ" has just been such a sweet song for our church and for Salt Company for so many years, and I think that's the sentiment of what we were also hoping for this year. It's like we want all of our services to be giving glory to Jesus, all the glory that is only deserving to go to Him, that it would go there. And we're really excited for this year of ministry, excited that our team is growing and our capacities are growing, but that doesn't mean anything if it's about us. It doesn't mean anything if we're worshiping ourselves. It only means something if we're helping people and worship Jesus and we're worshiping Him ourselves. So I think that's a good point, a good place to end. But this is our arts team for 2026, 2027.
Come say hi to us.
Come say hi. Come meet us.
Not these three. They are.
Yeah, we're grouchy.
grouchy.
So
I
go to
will
Leo.
talk your ear off.
Go to Leo. Come to us maybe later. Well, thanks for listening. We'll see you guys. Peace.